Hello and welcome, possibly for the last time ever, to the Malaysia Grand Prix, not the Malaysian, just remember that everyone, Malaysia Grand Prix qualifying notebook. And I'm not sure this is ever going to be the last one, you know. We're already hearing stories that if the guy who's in power at the moment goes out of power and the guy who used to be in power comes in back to power, then we might have this race again. And it would be good, wouldn't it? Because we get strange events, big thunderclouds like that one yonder, come and dump their rain on the circuit, and that always gives us a good Grand Prix. And look, the moon's out, Pete. Can you see atop the timing tower up here? And that's because we are getting into the evening local time here. And let's go and see Lewis Hamilton, who has pulled that one out of the bag, hasn't he? Compared to yesterday, and many reasons for that, really. Niki Lauda blamed it on a Lewis lap. So Lewis Hamilton pole position, Valtteri Bottas fifth. Lauda said it was a Lewis lap. That was more the driver than the car. And I guess he'd know, because he knows how good or bad the car is, and he knows a good driver when he sees one. But he certainly saved the best till last. Hamilton has just been saying how happy he was with it, how he managed to hook all the sectors up. He saved his best lap until last, obviously. And considering where they were yesterday, which you've got to say, you know, certainly based on time, was the worst Friday that Mercedes have had all season. They were furthest away from the fastest time after FP2 than they had been in Russia, than they had been in Singapore. And there are many reasons, you know, to say that the times don't actually matter. And this is one of those occasions when you can say, well, the times don't actually matter. But Lewis having some of the old rehydration liquid, although that's what I hope it is. Yeah, so he pulled it out of the bag, didn't he? And somewhat of a surprise, considering everything. Now, the upgrades are on the front wing. There's such a small upgrade to the front wing that it's hardly discernible, and something that I couldn't even do a back-to-back on with the sort of before and after on the telly. So there's something on the front wing. I'll try and show it to you at some point over the weekend. But then there's the bit on the barge board, which you saw, and it's all about just, you know, getting the flow structures. And as Toto Wolff together and the airflow where they wanted to go, as Toto Wolff was saying, you know, they are better. The data says it works, but just we can't get it going reliably on both cars, and what we are absolutely sure that it's working. It will be back for, the upgrades will be back for Suzuka, so they'll have more data on it at the moment. Actually, I'm wondering if James Allison, I haven't seen James Allison this weekend. I think he might be working from Brackley this race, but maybe, I'm sure he's been busy. I'm sure Anthony Davidson has been busy in the Mercedes simulator all of last night, trying different things and trying the old aero package versus the new aero package, and maybe he reported back. I've got no idea, but I asked him, but he didn't reply on the old text. I asked Anthony. Maybe he replied that, do you know what? It's not so bad on the old aero package, as according to the simulator. Hey, I don't know. Maybe the simulator's not that sensitive. But anyway, yeah, Lewis looking like it's going to be a good weekend. Despite the old, so there's just been a small hubbub about the Instagram post. I think you know what I mean, and whether he took it down or whether his people took it down, or whether his people were told to take it down by Mercedes, or whether they decided to take it down by themselves, considering that America is a very big market for Mercedes, who knows. But anyway, he's put that well and truly behind him. As for Valtteri Bottas, he felt there was a little bit more in the car, but he didn't manage to get it out today. Right, should we have a look at Max Verstappen? This, by the way, the pen, everyone, looks like it might change. You're right, Pete. It looks like it might change from Japan. It looks like we're going to have two separate pens with different drivers in them at different times, and that the drivers who are on the top three will do their interviews on the podium and then come down to the pen quickly for a couple of questions, and then go to the FIA written press conference, and then come back to another pen for people who aren't live. And for people who aren't staying up for detention, they put the cloak on the lower hook. But if you need to come back for lunch, you put your cloak on the upper hook. But unless your brother is in, yeah, that's for you. People who get it, that's an allusion to is it a Faulty Towers? It was it was a Monty Python skit, wasn't it? But anyway, it's fiendishly complicated, but it looks like the rules on the pen are going to change experimentally, thank you, from Japan, and then we'll see. It will mean that the people who have to get off air quickly will get their drivers in their own language quicker than they would normally do. They'd normally have to wait till they go into the cool down room and do, you know, questions in your own language. they'll get them in the pen quicker. Anyway, listen, we'll see how it works in Japan. Right, let's talk about Red Bull, shall we? Max Verstappen, there you can see him, and very happy to pull it out. Decided to go a different way with tyres initially in Q1, and that I think helped him. He had a really good feel for the super soft tyre today. Daniel Ricciardo got ahead of him in Q2, but then Max Verstappen just shaded Ricciardo at the end by 4/100ths of a second. So very, very tight. But yeah, so Red Bull on the pace there, and from fourth Ricciardo and third Verstappen, they can do something from the second row, no doubt about it. So Christian Horner, the other thing on Red Bull Racing, talking about this Marcin Budkowski. People are calling him Bukowski or Bukowski. I call him Bukowski. Marcin, I think Martin. It's sort of pronounced Martin. That's why some of the team principals have been calling it Martin Bukowski. Anyway, he was the one of the sort of top technical guys. You right? Hello, you okay?
What? Is that a real microphone?
It is a real microphone.
It doesn't work.
It's a what?
It doesn't work.
Well, I hope it does. Otherwise, the last 5 minutes have been a complete waste of time. But yeah, I think it works.
Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Do you like Pete? Think he looks like a pirate? He does, doesn't he? He looks like a... Oh, no. Oh, there you go, Pete. He doesn't think you look like a pirate. God, it's hot down here. Got my little... Why is it so hot down here? Doesn't feel 24. 32, there we go. 33. Well, maybe it's hot because we're by the air conditioners. What's this? Hiya, Watha, look at that. 51, you don't want to hang out by here too much. 52. What are you, Pete? 35, what am I? 35 as well. 34. Well, you've got to carry that big... Right, where was I? Oh, yes, Christian Horner and... oh, good, that lad's getting a selfie. Excellent. Christian Horner and this Marcin Bukowski. Horner is absolutely spitting feathers about it because Bukowski, one of the FIA technical... well, head of the FIA technical department, just the man under Charlie Whiting, was in the Red Bull factory the other day looking at all their designs for next year. And it looks like he's going to Renault. That's not confirmed by Renault. Renault are issuing a big fat no comment about the whole thing. But it's really the FIA's fault about that. It's not Renault's fault. If the FIA only put a 3-month gardening leave clause in Budkowski's contract, then they've only got themselves to blame when all the other teams shout foul about the whole thing. I'm back here, Pete. Hello. I was just wandering around aimlessly by myself. So that's an interesting little conflab there. They're behind glass, so Joe Sayward can't have a go at me for eavesdropping on his private conversations like he did in Singapore, even though we couldn't hear half of what he was saying to Andy Palmer from Aston Martin. So Chase by himself here. Haven't seen Ross Brawn. That's because he's not here this weekend. Steve Nielsen has kind of taken his responsibilities. Haven't seen Sean Bratches either. So on a weekend where a lot of people are talking about cost cuts, it looks like some of the teams might be sort of putting a little bit of pressure on Mr. Carey there. But Carey explaining it all to paddock sage Joe Sayward. Right, so just to go back to that FIA thing. So it's not Renault's fault, if indeed they are going to be offering him a job, that the FIA have put such ridiculously short gardening leave on Budkowski. So it looks like it will get sorted out because nobody really wants to annoy the FIA. The teams are quite happy to annoy each other, but no one really wants to get in trouble with the FIA. So I think he'll probably end up going, if the rumours are true and he is going to Renault, and Renault said no comment on that, then he'll probably serve a year's gardening leave and then go, because otherwise we're just going to get more and more trouble in the paddock. So, right, what else is going on? We've got, it's just a beautiful time of day, isn't it? Here's the other side, beautiful shirt, Mr. Jones there, very nice, you okay? And we've got Mercedes packing down. Toto's holding court in there. It's just lovely. It just starts to cool off a little bit. We've got some of the winners of the F1 in schools, including, I believe, Toto Wolff's son was on the winning Austrian team. I don't know who he is. He's probably the one who looks a bit like Toto Wolff, but apparently they're getting their Chase Carey, the aforementioned Chase Carey, is awarding the winning school or team, whatever it is, their trophy. in a bit, but it's well done. And Toto said he had no idea that his son was getting into this. He didn't push his son into it, and into building building cars and doing CFD and all of that stuff that they do in F1 in schools. His son did it completely independently. So well, there's a chip off the old block, isn't there? So right, from a happy Red Bull, let's talk about Ferrari, shall we? Let's sort of gauge the mood. Sebastian Vettel keeping his chin up. That's all he can do, and unlike in Singapore where it was probably his fault, even though he wasn't admitting to that on Thursday, this was definitely not his fault today. It all started with an electronic problem, a glitch, which they were worried about in free practice 3, and that changed into an engine change, and in there it seems that there's some sort of connector problem between engine and turbo. Here I think we've got Maurizio, or is it Seb? It's Seb. So we've heard from Seb already in the pen. This is for the written press and essential other huddles. So it's Sebastian Vettel 20th. As he says, the race is tomorrow. We'll see what he can do. Kimi Räikkönen second. Let's just do Sebastian. I heard it start up as they tried to get out late on, as they were trying to repair it towards the end of Q1. The engine sort of started up, and then it spluttered and wheezed, and you could hear the turbo wasn't actually doing the normal turbo sound. So yeah, that was it. Sebastian said he felt he had it in it. He felt we had it in us for pole. As I say, we believe it's some sort of connector to the turbo, but the race is tomorrow. We'll see. So everyone is very down in the mouth around here, and deservedly so. Well, not deservedly so, unfortunately so. Understandably, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Because hey, they could and probably should have been and probably would have been on pole today. So it just makes the whole thing even more tragic that it happened. But he's keeping his chin up, I guess. Sebastian, let's have a look at him. Yeah, he's keeping his chin up. The race is tomorrow. The race is tomorrow. So we can see what will happen. We'll see what can happen tomorrow. But otherwise, Kimi, not a bad lap. Just P2 by 0.04 of a second from the Mercedes of Hamilton. Did you want me or Alberto?
Yeah, but after that.
Oh, after. Okay. Oh, right. Wonder what that's about. If he wants me, I'm in trouble. Maybe it was about my Maurizio interview afterwards. I don't know. It just seemed like Maurizio wanted to talk. There is Kimi. Just seemed like Maurizio wanted to talk, didn't he? But oh dear, I think I'm definitely in trouble. Which is a shame because, hey, look, I want Ferrari to do well, just like everyone else who loves Formula One wants Ferrari to do well. Right, here's Felipe Massa at Williams. Let's do them, shall we? And well, it's a difficult session really today because the car's actually not that bad round here, surprisingly. I mean, maybe they've got, well, so I say surprisingly given their recent performances, but it's made a step on from Singapore. Massa was 11th today, missed out on Q3 by just 0.02 of a second. A little bit frustrated, I think he probably was, but they very brief. They could have made it into Q3. They were hoping they were going to make it into Q3 with at least one car, but didn't quite manage it. And a bit of a step forward as well from Lance Stroll. Very solid job in qualifying. He was happy enough with that. So Stroll 13th. Massa 11th. There was anything about Force India? No, we've missed out Force India, haven't we? They are around here, Pete, in the paddock. Oh, there you are. Did you get distracted? Oh. Were you following Felipe Massa to the loo? No? Oh, good, right. Yeah, Sergio Perez 9th and Esteban Ocon 6th, and a great lap from Esteban Ocon. He's very happy. His best qualifying lap of the year. And the car is car's been good since practice, and they've actually managed to get not only the new parts in Singapore working, but what they already have. And bear in mind that they have got the new engine from Mercedes as well, just like Williams have. So that might have contributed to Williams' step forward a little bit as well, being sort of very firmly around top 10 and a bit higher. As for Sergio Perez, he's a little bit disappointed with 9th as to opposed Esteban Ocon in 6th. But he thinks they can have a good race and move forward from there. So this is, to explain to you, the Mercedes Goodbye Malaysia. Thanks very much, and arrivederci Malaysia. Sorry, I don't know why I said it in Italian. Mercedes are an Anglo-German team, aren't they? Barbecue tonight. So they're all setting everything up. You can see there's a small lectern being established here by these two chaps. This is good. Don't know who's going to be talking here. Is someone going to be talking here, lads?
That's what we've been informed.
That's what you're planning for. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
You got a mic? Do you want to borrow this mic? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can put it there.
No, I won't put it there. I just see a mic holder. I want to put a mic in it for some strange reason. So everyone's sort of hanging out here. It's probably going to be quite good fun. Look, there's a ceremonial animal on a spit. Probably got some satay around here if I know Malaysia. And what's this? We've got some sort of things on a stick and a mushroom velouté. Is that a mushroom velouté? Yes. Oh, it is. Oh, right. Oh, thank you.
Mushroom.
And what's the thing on a stick?
Fishball.
Fishball. Oh, lovely. Okay. All right.
You want to try?
Madam, can I?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, I'll have a mushroom velouté. Right, well, I'll say cheers and more notebook. Well, he's busy.
Okay.
He'll have one in a break. Let's take a break, shall we? And after the mushroom velouté, there'll be more notebook.
So,
Delicious.
delicious. Okay, thank you.
Terima kasih.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll pass on the fish balls. Yeah, thank you.
Speed and teamwork with the fastest pit stops all the way to the finish line. Sky Sports F1, delivered by DHL.
Hungry citizens of Britain, Just Eat wants to know what you want to eat tonight.
Pizza with ham.
I want sushi.
Prawn dumplings.
Sweet and sour pork with egg fried rice.
Lamb shish. I want fish and chips.
I want chicken pad thai.
Korean pork steamed buns.
I want something spicy.
Your favourite local takeaway restaurants are standing by. Download the Just Eat app or order now online.
Hybrid technology, no plugging in. New Toyota Yaris Hybrid, a new energy for the city.
One way or another, I'm gonna see ya. I'm gonna meet you one day. Maybe next week, I'm gonna meet ya. I'll meet ya.
Sing Ultimate a Cappella starts Friday at 9 on Sky One.
Dreams mean everything. They're the stories we tell ourselves of what could be.
They're coming after us.
When an enemy's down on the field, you gotta finish him.
There is only one war that matters. The Great War. And it is here.
There's one hero who never stays silent, who fights against injustice wherever he finds it. And the world needs him now more than ever.
Brand new Curb Your Enthusiasm starts Monday at 10 on Sky Atlantic.
Hello again, welcome back to Sepang for the Malaysian Grand Prix. I said it again, Malaysia Grand Prix. Malaysia Grand Prix. So the Malaysia Grand Prix, not Malaysian Grand Prix qualifying notebook. Hi, got a bit of mushroom velouté in my teeth. That's a bit salty, but it's nice. Right, McLaren, shall we? And what a lap from Stoffel van Dorn, by Stoffel van Dorn. Can't see anyone around at McLaren, sort of empty hospitality, but they're preparing for Meet the Team. But we shouldn't take it away from him because Stoffel is 7th on the grid, wowza, whereas Fernando Alonso is 10th on the grid. Fernando wasn't happy with his positioning on his last lap in Q2. That was just a little quirk of that session. But then he said the new bits, while they worked yesterday, didn't work today, and I don't really understand how that's possible. If they're aero bits, they should work whatever the air conditions or track conditions, or maybe there must have been a setup change they made that meant that the maybe a bit more front wing or a bit less mean that those barge balls didn't work. Sorry. Those barge balls, you never eat during the middle of a notebook. Right, DT, sunny enough for you?
I'm sorry, I can't see with these glasses on.
So they didn't work today, even though they worked yesterday, which is a bit odd. But that was his explanation as to why he's a tenth or so behind. Well, 2 tenths actually behind Stoffel van Dorn. Stoffel, of course, doesn't have the new aero bits, which Fernando has, but he's still outqualified, as I say, Fernando Alonso by a couple of tenths. So that's very good. He said we have the new bits. They didn't work, but it will take a little bit of a while to actually get them sorted out. So there you go. That is Fernando all ready for that. Anything else with McLaren? I mean, as Eric Boulier probably told you you heard from him in the post-show, they're now getting all the details that they need from Renault. It maybe helps that Eric used to be the Lotus Enstone Renault with the association with Viry-Châtillon boss, so he kind of knows what doors they need to knock on. Esteban knock-on. That probably, they're getting up with it. They'd already had the spy shots, as you heard in Singapore, McLaren, of the Renault engine, so they kind of know what they're dealing with. But they're fast on the way to getting that sorted out, which they need to do. Right, Toro Rosso. Let's do them. Carlos Sainz 14th and Pierre Gasly 15th. Let's do Gasly first because he's the big story, I think. And well done, Gasly, because he's come here under quite a lot of pressure, and the really big thing was just not to mess up. Don't mess up, Pierre, and he didn't mess up. Yes, he was out-qualified by Carlos Sainz, but then Danny Kvyat can tell you everything about that. That was it was a great effort. Only 0.15, so a tenth and a half behind Sainz. It was very tight in that midfield. As I say, he was happy not to mess up. And as for Sainz, he said this is about where the car is. It's all we can do without it raining. He wasn't too happy, but that's, as I say, about where the car is. Have you spotted something, Peter? You always do, you devil. As for Kvyat, I mean, is he going to come back? It's it's Sainz. Oh, it's the two drivers. Well done. Talking to James Key. They're in the middle of a debrief, but they've obviously just stepped out for something secret, so I won't get too close if they think I'm trying to eavesdrop with the old microphone, but you're welcome to film them, I guess. Public paddock. Kvyat. Is Kvyat going to come back? And I was, sort of assuming, and I was saying to lots of people at Toro Rosso, it's all right, Danny Kvyat's not too bad for him, he'll be back. And they're like, not sure about that. So, oh, really? It seems like they don't really care, Toro Rosso, if Pierre Gasly doesn't go back to the last round of the Super Formula Championship in Japan at Suzuka at the same weekend as Austin and actually try to win the championship. They think, look, it's more important that you score points for us because Toro Rosso are in this big battle with everybody, with Williams, with Haas, with Renault, with Force India as well. Force India are beyond that, but you know what I mean. And to score some points, and they just need two people to score some points. And Sainz is scoring the points, but the other driver, Kvyat, wasn't. And they need Gasly to score some points. So if he can score some points tomorrow, and maybe in Suzuka, I think they will say, listen, forget the Japanese Super Formula. We don't need that. We need you to stay here and score some points. But maybe if he doesn't, they'll let him finish the season. Okay, what happens to Gasly then? Well, you would have thought he's nailed on for next year because it's going to be Gasly and Kvyat next year. Well, not so, says Franz Tost, who's coming towards us now. Hello, Franz. Servus. Oh, he's not happy. Oh, really? Gosh, face like thunder. What's that all about? He's saying, no, not necessarily. And I'm wondering whether Pascal Wehrlein might find a spot here, because Wehrlein's obviously fast. He's shown Ericsson more or less the way to go over the last couple of years, or the last year, and he's shown he can score points in unfancied cars. And I'm just wondering whether Wehrlein might find a destination at Toro Rosso, despite not being anything to do with the young driver program, if, as it looks like, he's not going to find a place at Sauber. And that would be a move up for him, a move up that it doesn't look like Marcus Ericsson, his teammate, is going to be able to make, because it seems like he's not particularly in contention for the Williams drive. That looks more and more like it's going to Congratulations. It looks like it's more and more like it's going to P. Diddy, to Paul di Resta, being talked about more and more in terms of a likely candidate for that for Felipe Massa's seat at Williams. Massa saying on Thursday the whole thing about, there is elements within the team who maybe think he's not suitable about staying. I don't really know what that's about. I can't tell. I don't know who he's talking about. I sort of, anyway, it seemed a bit odd. An odd reference. Anyway, it looks increasingly like Massa isn't going to be there. Increasingly, perhaps, like Paul di Resta is. Who knows? Right, Haas. There is Gene, just deep in thought, drumming his fingers on the old table. What does that say? Reserved Romain Grosjean Media. All right, that's the one it says. And they were 16th and 17th today. Kevin Magnussen had a few engine problems in the morning, and they were sorted, more or less. Romain Grosjean out in Q1 after a bad weekend, of course, after the issue with the drain cover. And they rebuilt the car, so the guys did brilliantly. Actually, the mechanics did brilliantly, and they rebuilt the car, and they just lacked a bit of speed on the super soft tyre. Actually, I was wondering, Gene, do you think you're going to? Was this story? Okay, sorry to interrupt. There's a story around that Gunther was saying that you might consider asking for a wee bit of compensation from the FIA or the circuit about the drain cover. Was that wide of the mark, or was that?
Oh well, that's what Gunther says he wants to do. I tell you, I think there's some merit to that. You obviously expect to have all the manhole covers welded down, and it was a pretty big hit to the car.
Yeah, but you've been around racing long enough to know that these things happen, don't they?
Well, let's see. Someone was telling me it happened like 15 years ago, so that's not very often. But that things like that could really hurt people too. I mean, if he would have been just a half foot over, it would have cut the car in half.
Sure. No, indeed. How much did it cost the team?
Oh, it's probably $500,000.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's £500,000 in today's exchange rate. So wow, that is a lot. Okay.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah, it was a real shock to us because you're this racing's so close, and to have a day like that just puts you behind.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Sorry, my knees have gone. I can't crouch like that for more than 30 seconds. Thank you, Gene. Right, should we do Renault? Hulkenberg 8th and Jolyon Palmer 12th. Did Palmer first. He had a difficult day. He had a brake-by-wire failure in FP3. That's why you saw him go straight on at the end of the lap. A bit of a scary moment, but it wasn't actually anything physical like the brakes going long. It's just the brake-by-wire went slightly haywire and put him into a spin. But Hulkenberg, P8, not a bad lap at all. Good lap, actually, in Q2 that saw him into Q3. And then just had the one attempt, which was tricky for him, actually, to get that P8. So there's Cyril Abiteboul talking with Jerome Stoll, the president, and Helmut Marko. Who knows whether they're talking about Martin Budkowski or not. But, yeah, as I say, there's a large no comment from Renault as to whether they've offered him a job. But not their fault if they have, and he's only got a 3-month gardening leave clause. That's the FIA's fault to sort that out. I think I've mentioned that enough, so we can move on. And finally, do Sauber. Marcus Ericsson 19th, Pascal Wehrlein 18th. Only one person behind them, and that's Sebastian Vettel, and that's pretty much all there is for Pascal Wehrlein. He was half a second quicker than Marcus Ericsson today. And actually, that says a little bit about Ericsson as well, because Ericsson was saying on Thursday that he thinks he's got loftier, well, he has got loftier ambitions for himself and wants a better team than Sauber and wants to move up the grid. Of course he does. Do you like Villeneuve's new blondie hairstyle? It's like 1997, isn't it, when he went all blonde? But he's got greater ambitions than just sort of plodding around at the back with Sauber. Fred Vasseur, the team boss, was saying he can understand that. It is going to take Sauber a few years to get on their front feet again and be moving up the grid, but it is going to be hard. At least they'll have a fresh Ferrari engine next year, unlike the one they've got at the moment. So he wants Ericsson to keep the faith, if you like. But anyway, it looks like it's going to be this man on the right-hand side, Charles Leclerc, in the car next year. And the only doubt as to seemingly who Leclerc's teammate is going to be, whether it's going to be Ericsson or whether it's going to be Antonio Giovinazzi. But I was going to say that Leclerc did an amazing job in FP1 under tricky conditions and kept it all together and did some good learnings for the team. But you might as well have said that yourself by now.
Yeah, well, it went quite well. Yeah, they were pretty happy, so that's definitely the most important.
Do you know what that thing was? It on the side of your car, that weird sort of sensor that looked like it was an F3 car?
Yeah.
What was it?
Did you ask to Fred?
No, I just assumed it was a weird sensor that they had to put on the side.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I can't say anymore.
Okay, well, let's just say it's a weird sensor that looked like an F3 car. I expect to see Mugen Power on the side of it or something.
Yeah.
That's an old F3 reference. That you
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, well done. And yeah, well, see you soon, probably. In another F3 session, P1 session, and indeed in Formula One next year. So we haven't done our new driver quickfire rounds, have we? We need to do that with Gasly, Pierre Gasly, and indeed with Charles Leclerc. You know, the one that you love so much about silly questions hither and there. But, oh well, that's for another day because we are indeed out of time. Thanks very much for watching. See you for the Malaysia Grand Prix. Don't call it the Malaysian Grand Prix. Oh, careful, Pete. It's all right. Come this way. The Malaysia Grand Prix tomorrow from, I believe, 6:30 in the morning. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you then. Bye-bye.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.